Hi, welcome back. So this is the episode where I prove that I can actually build this game using the components that came in this box. So to date, I have been using cardstock to make these little rooms, and I have been asserting that it takes me 2 cards worth of cardstock, like two regular 2.5 by 3.5 inch cards to make one of these rooms. And I was fortunate enough that in my box, like everybody else, I got a box of black core and I got a box of ivory core cards. But as printing errors sometimes happen, it's understandable. In my gray core box was another stack of ivory core cards. So I actually got 2 sets of ivory core. I had 50 ivory core and 25 black core. And this is perfect because I have 16 rooms. Each room uses 2 cards, and so I needed 32 cards to build my rooms. Now, if I had to do those with a mixture of gray and ivory core, it wouldn't be as nice as I was able to do it with all ivory core. All of the rooms sort of are the same. They feel the same. They have the same heft and weight. So I've actually done it now. Here is one of the rooms made with the ivory core cards that came in here. I have but one left. I'll show you in a second where the rest of them went. There is one unused ivory core card left. All of the rest of my cards are, well, here. I tried printing on the cards, but my printer just can't quite feed cards as small as a regular size card. So I improvised. I could have spent hours with markers, and instead I just printed on label paper. This is mostly just a proof that it can be done, so I thought that it would be okay if I use label paper to get the colors on the cards, on the rooms. It doesn't affect the build. It's still conceivably buildable with printed cards. Of course, if this were to be published, this ivory core is only one step closer to what it would actually be made of. You'd want these rooms to be made of chipboard. Actually, after the contest deadline is over, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to build a prototype with mat board, which is the closest thing I can get my hands on to chipboard, to demonstrate the sturdiness, the size, and the feel of it. I'm actually going to shrink the rooms a little bit too. Right now they're this big in part because a card is this long, and it's very convenient to slice a card clean down the middle. That's how this all comes together. I can just show you here. This was a card. I cut it down the middle. I cut the archway in this one, cut the slots, and then everything just slots together. Actually, the ivory core version is disassemblable. Ivory core is sturdy enough that you can actually pull these apart and put them back together without wrecking them, which is nice. Whereas the cardstock version that I've been using up to now, I've resorted to folding it like this, which is actually good news. That means I have a way now to I can send this out to the judges. I can make as many of these as necessary out of cardstock. I can fit this whole thing in an envelope. Oh, see, we get 16 rooms folded flat, and they pop back up, and they're pretty okay. So that's good. But my own personal version is using ivory core, and the ivory core is really nice, right? Okay. But the ivory core doesn't fold down. What ends up happening is because it's a thicker board, when you fold it down, those little joints bend, and then it doesn't come back as nicely, whereas the cardstock does. Okay, so there's a couple other things I still need to prove. That's 16 ivory core cards used to make my rooms. Now, I have 25 black core cards. Those are my spell deck. And so what I've done to prove that this works is this is my spell deck, and every spell card has been sleeved with one of the black core cards behind it. So there's the thing in the sleeve. So there's my 25 black core cards are right here. The rest of my ivory core cards are getting used in other ways. So I have 5 of them are here as my player cards that show your little mage. They show your little mage and its abilities. Everybody gets one. One of them is the Toad Form spell, which is a special spell that the purple mage gets. One of them is the Panda Guardian reference card, tells you how you activate it and what happens when you encounter it. And on the reverse side is the alternate Horned Panda option that you can play with. There's one player reference card, so this is everything, all the sort of action sequences and stuff that you do on your turn. And on the back is a movement reference, so that'll be a really handy thing. And the last 3 Ivory Core cards are my dragon spells. It's actually convenient. Ivory Core is a little bit thicker and heavier. The dragon spells and the Toad Form spell don't get shuffled into the spell deck ever. And so it's kind of nice that I've got a different kind of card stock to separate them out with, because it'll be weird if you start shuffling Toad Form and you'll think, oh, what is this? And you pull it and look at it and go, oh, what is this Toad Form thing? It's a different kind of card stock. Because there's something about that. And in the setup instructions, there's a little call-out box that says Toad Form. If you're not using the purple player, get rid of this card. Throw this back in the box. So I think that's perfect. As I said, I have one more Ivory Core card that's currently unused. I'm thinking of just making a second player aid. It'll be good to have 2 of these floating around. I mean, in the ideal case, there'd be 1 per player, but components are what components are. If you've been counting, there are 6 Ivory Core cards that aren't accounted for, and they are here. So I have a Wall of Fire and a Wall of Stone cards, and I use these little card stands that came in the kit to stand those up, and they sit between rooms. There's spells that cast Wall of Stone, and there's a spell that casts Wall of Fire, and you put these between rooms, and they sort of make the labyrinth harder to get around for other people. Thing is, these card stands aren't really card stands. They're meant for standees, probably punchboard. And so it takes 3 Ivory Core cards together in one stand to get it to stand properly. Oh, look at that. The firewall is backwards on the one side. There you go. So, 6 Ivory Core cards to make these. Okay, and what's left? Well, the remaining components in my game are 2 dice, which are used to track action points. The Panda Meeple with his cute panda butt is our Panda Guardian. The Dragon Coin is our starting artifact. Discs, cubes, and crystals are used as players and win condition. And that's actually all of the essential components of the game. I had cut some of the other ones, but I've now brought them back with variants. You can use the Panda Mask instead of the Dragon Coin as the artifact in the game, or you can use the Gold Brick of Power as an artifact in your game instead of the Dragon Coin. So there's actually different ways to set up the game and different ways to play. So now I just wanted to note the things I didn't use that I've noticed other people have used, and I think it's interesting to show. I would like to point out in my first version of the game, almost every component in this kit except this bag was used. In every iteration, something got cut. Something got cut. It's only in this last iteration that I've added a couple of things back in. These 2 got added back in as variants, in the variants, or alternate setup rules. So I decided I was collecting all of the parts in the one component I wasn't using from the get-go. I was never using this bag. And so I was collecting in this bag the graveyard of components. All right, so didn't use this. I've seen some designs that are making use of this. Very clever. I did not use these boxes. I know Paul Saxberg is using the boxes, the tuck boxes, and it's really cool and really clever. And I actually plan to save these and experiment using small tuck boxes in a game design that's not so constrained in the future. It's such a really cool idea. I have to try it out myself. So what else do we have? The mouse and the Hyperborea miniature are no longer in the game. They were in the first version. I was determined to use miniatures because I love miniatures. Who doesn't love miniatures? And they just couldn't make the cut. And when it was a choice between using the Panda Meeple to be the Labyrinth Guardian or one of these guys, we all know This is not a contest. The Panda Meeple wins every time. Also cut was the red brick. It was in there because it's cool. This I actually never had use for. I had hoped that the back was gray, but it's got text on it. And I was lucky or unlucky, and I got a future cap coin as my other metal coin. And so my original version, I was using 2 dragon coins because I was counting on getting 2 dragon coins. And when I opened my kit and saw this, there was an immediate simplification of the game. One of the dragon coins got taken out because this is not a dragon coin. And so I'm not using it. Cool stuff. Okay, so that's everything. I've also got the rules for the game actually written up with diagrams. I spent all weekend doing that. So at this stage, the next thing that I am going to be up to is trying to get a 5-player playtest in because I need to decide whether the game is 2 to 4 or 2 to 5. And the only way to do that is by trying it. And then I'm going to pack up. I find out from JR how many of these I need to make up. I will pack up these and I will send them off to their respective judging corners and wrap this thing up. So my next video will be a gameplay demo unless playtesting turns up anything interesting, and the finish line is in sight. All right, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time.